In this video, we're going to be looking at how to develop consistent triplets. Now, basically, the idea of triplets is it's three notes occupying the space that normally two or four would occupy. So if you have eighth note triplets, you're going to have three notes paced consistently in the same space as two eighth notes normally would be, or a quarter note. So basically, every count, 1, 2, 3, 4, there's going to be three notes. So 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, played consistently. And this can be sort of difficult to develop on the bass drum for a variety of reasons, which we're going to get into. But we'll just get started right away with the first exercise. So this first exercise is going to be eighth note triplets on the bass drum. And the one thing that can give you trouble if you're just starting out is your lead foot is going to change sort of. Your right foot, if you're right-footed, is still going to be your lead foot. But if you're keeping time, say quarter notes, which is the easiest way to do with eighth note triplets, your right foot's going to land on it, and then your left foot's going to land on it. It's going to alternate in between, and that can sometimes throw people off a little bit. So you'll see what I mean, and we'll go through it right now. We're going to do it at a nice slow tempo, about 100 BPM. This next exercise has a ride pattern that's in a 6/8 feel. Now this is a little bit easier to coordinate because it's always landing with your lead foot. But if you're going with a 4/4 click like I am, it sort of creates almost a polyrhythmic feel. So you really have to be on top of where your meter is. So we'll go through that and you'll see what I mean. So this next pattern is going to be very similar to the first one we tried out with a quarter note ride with eighth note triplets on the kick, except for we're going to change where we accent the snare drum. Now this, again, can sort of throw you for a loop sometimes because in this situation, not only is your hi-hat or your ride or your riding cymbal going to land on your left foot, so is the snare. So now you have your right and left hand that you have to line up with your left foot, which can sometimes be a little bit tricky. So we'll try to get into that too here. Now our next example here is 16th note triplets. So it's going to be twice as fast on the kicks as eighth note triplets. Still kind of a 3 feel, almost like a 6 feel actually, because there's going to be twice as many in the same amount of space. So we'll get started with that. There's going to be a quarter note ride here and a snare on 2 and 4. And yeah, it's kind of fun. So in that example, we specifically chose to use a quarter note ride pattern. It's a little bit trickier, but there's also different options like an eighth note ride pattern and sort of a 12/8 feel ride pattern, which it gives you more guide to kind of line your kick up to, so it's a little bit easier, and we're going to get into that right now. So this next example, we're going to use 16th note triplet kicks again. It's not going to be solid though. It's going to be in small bursts, which kind of gives a cool flavor to some of your beats. So let's try that out. So those are the same 16th note triplets that we did in the example before, but in a short burst with an eighth note hat pattern over top. Now the next one we're going to do is going to be an even shorter burst, which drastically again changes the sound, and it's really fun to throw into a beat. And this last example is going to be 30-second note triplets. Triplets can be on all sorts of notes, all the way up to 128th notes, which you'll probably never ever have to use. So we'll give it a shot. We're going to lower the tempo just a little bit, and let's try it out. So now I'm going to go through some examples of combining triplets with other kind of broken note patterns. It'll kind of give you almost a marching-like feel, but on the bass drum, and it sounds really cool with a groove over top of it. So those are just a few ideas on how you can develop your triplets and incorporate them into your playing, and hope you enjoyed them. Next, you can check out assigning feet to different patterns.